What's up, guys? What's up, Houston Texans fans? I am some Texans fan, Jonny Lambert. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. If you guys like, subscribe, please. We're going to go over what's going on in the world of Houston Texans right now. The Super Bowl is over. Kansas City Chiefs won on, in my opinion, a ridiculous call at the end of the game that pretty much solidified every reason that anyone hates referees. It just changed the complexion of the game. Like, when you make a call like that, you just basically what you did is you gave the Kansas City Chiefs the opportunity to just burn down the clock. And it just killed the game. But anyways, looking on to brighter things for the Houston Texans. Again, I am some Texans fan, Jonny Lambert. Please like, subscribe. Love to hear all you guys' comments. I'll get to everybody as I can. Going into where we're going for the future of the Houston Texans. So on Friday, the Houston Texans announced that they had hired defensive coordinator, previous defensive line coach for the Arizona Cardinals, Matt Burke. And I think a lot of Texans fans and a lot of people listening to that were kind of thinking, all right, but this is a guy that DeMeco is probably going to just have, on his right side, just going, look, I need you to help me manage the game, but I'm going to call the plays as far as defense goes. I don't think Matt Burke's going to be the guy that's calling every defensive play. I think it's going to be DeMeco, and I think a lot of people are kind of, I don't know, there's a little bit of an eyebrow raise where you're like, who is this guy? We have no idea. Matt Burke was the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins from 2017 to 2018, and they did not have a great defense. His track record, Matt Burke's track record, is not good. However, he does have ties to J.J. Watt, and I feel like that's probably where DeMeco got a little bit of the insight into what kind of coach he is. And I hate to go down that avenue because I feel like a lot of this momentum that we're getting right now is, we got this, ex-Texans linebacker, ex-Houston Texan is now the head coach of the Houston Texans. And now everybody's asking these questions like, are you going to bring Andre Johnson back to, coach the wide receivers? Are you going to bring J.J. Watt back to coach the D-line? Are you going to bring Gary Kubiak to, manage the passing game? And I don't want to go down that avenue. I don't think that's what DeMeco is doing. I think he's smarter than that. Look, there's a lot of really positive things to take out of what the Houston Texans have done and hiring DeMeco Ryans and bringing him in. But I don't think that DeMeco is one of those guys that's like, let's just bring in all the former Houston Texans players, and let's make sense of a coaching staff out of that. I don't think that's what DeMeco is trying to do. I think he's smarter than that. He's been in coaching for 6 years now. He's been a defensive coordinator for 2 years. He understands what it takes to build a team. He understands what it takes, even when things fall apart, to make sure you have the right group of guys around you. And that doesn't just necessarily mean the right, cheerleaders, and to put it simply. And I don't think that's the case. I think that bringing Bobby Slowik over from the 49ers just to get an interview. I mean, before DeMeco even got hired, Bobby Slowik was one of the guys that they were talking about maybe hiring as the head coach. Mike Kafka, Jonathan Gannon, and Sean Payton, which obviously we knew that wasn't going to be a thing, but he was one of the guys that was on the list for that. So I think there's a reasoning behind all of these interviews, and the way this stuff is leaked is it's all relevant to, what's actually going on and versus, what the media wants to leak and what they want their story to be. I think Bobby Slowik, as a head coach or as an offensive coordinator hire is a great pickup. They're gonna be able to mesh really well together. I feel like because DeMeco's already been in the building with the guys, so I mean that's a huge component of what we're talking about as far as bringing in people that you can trust, bringing in people that are on the same page as you are, and can help build what DeMeco's idea and a lot of it too. I feel like Nick is in his ear going, this is a good idea or this isn't a good idea, because DeMeco's a brand new head coach. I mean, it's not like he's a seasoned, he's not an Andy Reid. He's not, he hasn't been around the league for a while, or even like a Doug Peterson for that matter. I mean, he's just not, he hasn't had that expertise for a while. And in the AFC South right now, I mean, there's a lot of questions going on as far as coaching, as far as quarterbacks, as far as, I mean, you can just look at the Jacksonville Jaguars and you're like, this is the only team that has it figured out right now. I mean, the Texans have no quarterback. I mean, we have Davis Mills, and DeMeco even said that on a press conference. He's like, we have one quarterback on the team right now, but, we obviously know we need to look at that position. The Colts, the Matt Ryan experiment went terribly wrong. The Frank Reich experiment went terribly wrong. And the Jeff Saturday experiment went terribly wrong. The Titans, I don't know what's up with their quarterback deal. Ryan Tannehill is not a franchise quarterback. I don't know why they entrusted. I feel like it's kind of the same scenario. Like if you would have put Davis Mills in the same, type of instance with having just a beast of a running back like Derrick Henry and, a defensive minded coach like Mike Vrabel, you're probably going to end up with the same outcome of we just can't finish the season because we don't have a quarterback. And, we saw it. They throw in Joshua Dobbs to try and finish the season out, who's like a rocket scientist or something like that. It's just pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys go research Joshua Dobbs. He's a rocket scientist. The guy's like a brilliant man apparently, but when it comes to football, what does that have to do with anything? I think that the hiring of Bobby Slowik was what the Houston Texans fans wanted. The whole Cliff Kingsbury thing coming into town when he's been off in Thailand for the last 3 weeks, bought a 1 week ticket or whatever. That was, I don't know. I think that was all just media pumping a bunch of bull crap into us. He probably took a vacation, and rightfully so. I mean, if you got to think, this guy has 5 years of guaranteed money coming to him, millions of dollars to do absolutely nothing. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to wake up in the morning and go to work. He literally has to do nothing, and he can make millions of dollars every year. And that check comes in every 2 weeks. So it's like, what reasoning would I have? Well, I mean, I think for a lot of these guys, it's the fact that they want to coach. They love to coach. And I mean, I think Cliff Kingsbury does. And the whole dynamic behind that, and we can go down that wormhole of Cliff Kingsbury was not a good head coach in the college realm or the NFL realm. He wasn't. He was a good offensive coordinator, and he helped shape some quarterbacks that, ended up coming into the NFL, namely Patrick Mahomes. But how much did he have to do with that? I mean, you could say the same thing about any coach that's ever come across any great player. I mean, that doesn't make you a great coordinator or a head coach or whatever the case may be. Is he a good offensive mind? I mean, yeah, I think you can make the argument that, he can direct an offense and help maybe Bobby Slowik in the passing game a little bit, but I feel like that was kind of the Texans' idea, was bringing him in to, maybe create a little flash in the media, like, hey, we're trying, we're trying to get all the big prospects. But at the end of the day, like, Bobby Slowik was the guy we wanted. That's the guy I wanted. I think it makes the most sense. And like I said, on defense, they brought in Matt Burke, who, he coached JJ Watt the last 2 seasons, and JJ had a hell of a last season. I mean, he had 12 and a half sacks, on his way out. That's how much of that can be credited to Matt Burke, I don't know, but we all know what kind of a player JJ is. So, if he speaks highly of the guy, and he did, and I feel like that, like I said, that's probably why DeMeco ended up bringing him on. But I don't want to venture too much down this whole DeMeco trying to find former players' advice versus bringing former players in to coach. Like, I don't need all that. No, let's find some reputable candidates. Like we tried to do this before, and the Texans did that whole thing with the Patriots where they kept plucking players from the New England Patriots, like it was, and they started calling us the Patriots South, and we don't need all that. Let's create a new identity. Let's create a new, foundation of, all right, we brought DeMeco in. Yes, we understand he was a previous player here, and we drafted him, and it was great, and he had a good career here. And then he left, go to the Eagles, and then he went on to coach, in the NFL. Everybody calls him Cap and coach and this and that. That's great. That's awesome. But what does that translate to as far as being an actual NFL head coach? And what are you going to do to build this team that has so much draft capital right now and so much salary cap space? I mean, what are you going to do to make this team better? That's the biggest question right now. And again, I'll vouch for Nick Caserio. I think Nick Caserio is a brilliant man, and he understands the game of football. He understands player development. He understands the way the draft works. First draft didn't go so great. I mean, you got Davis, you got Nico, you got a couple other players that just really didn't pan out in the last season. And then this last year's draft, you got Stingley, you got Green. So the first round was kind of like Stingley got hurt. He didn't play terrible, but he got hurt. And then Kenny Green struggled. But then you look at the later rounds, that's kind of where I feel like a really good GM. I feel like the first rounds, like we build so much up about the draft and how much those first, round picks, and everybody made such a huge deal about, when the Texans lost, or when the Texans beat the Colts that last game of the season, they lost the first round draft pick, or the first overall pick in the, next year's draft. Everybody's making such a big deal about it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't. I mean, you look at what we found in last year's draft. We found Jalen Petrie, second round pick. We found Damian Pierce, fourth round pick. Even Tegan Cotoriano, the tight end, we found him in the 6th round. I mean, what does it really mean? I mean, you're talking about top tier talent across, the world in football. You're not going to be able to sum all that up within 32 picks. I mean, you're just not. There's going to be a lot of outliers. And we see it all the time. I mean, with players getting drafted later on that become, Hall of Famers. I mean, it's not like the first round is just, you're either going to find it or you're not. Most of the time, the first round, a lot of them ended up being busts. I mean, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm not too worried about them having the number 2 overall pick. I do think they need to go quarterback. I do think it needs to be Bryce Young. I am not upset whatsoever if Indianapolis wants to jump ahead and grab Bryce Young, and then we end up with CJ Stroud. I'm not upset either way. I'm really not. I think both players have great attributes. I think the biggest thing you could say between the two is that I think Bryce Young has more playmaking ability than CJ Stroud does. I think CJ Stroud has been playing in a very, very, I don't want to say cultivating. It's not necessarily the word I'm looking for, but CJ Stroud has had more talent around him throughout his career. I feel like Bryce Young has just been playing hero ball for the last couple of seasons, and the guy was only a junior in college. So I mean, we're talking about, yeah, he won the Heisman when he was a sophomore, but I mean, we're talking about 2 seasons really is what we're talking about. And when you look at CJ Stroud's career, he always had weapons around him. He had the structure. He had the offensive line. He had even the defense. He had the team around him to make him better. Bryce Young, I could argue, didn't necessarily always have that. And I'm not saying Alabama wasn't a powerhouse. Alabama's always going to be a powerhouse. But I feel like CJ Stroud had more talent around him than Bryce Young did throughout his career. And again, Bryce Young he's only a junior, guys, by the way. He's coming out of the draft early, or coming into the draft early, whatever. So who knows? Maybe Bryce Young plays his senior year and then we're having a completely different conversation. But, that's neither here nor there. I feel like CJ Stroud is not at all whatsoever going to be a bad pick if the Texans end up getting jumped over by the Colts and the Colts end up taking Bryce Young. I'm fine with CJ Stroud. I'm honestly fine with, I mean, you saw what Bobby Slowik did with 4 different quarterbacks. I mean, you think about the beginning of the season, it was Jimmy G, Trey Lance, and then we went to Brock Purdy, and then it went all the way down to Josh Johnson. Like this thing just fell apart at the quarterback position, but they almost made it to the Super Bowl. And if you could have found, that's why I'm so excited about this hire. And that's why when the whole Cliff Kingsbury thing came across, I was just like, no. I feel like that was one of those like media trying to pump up things about, the Texans are trying. They're trying to find somebody. And that's fine. That's all good and well. Find somebody. But not Cliff Kingsbury. He's not. I don't need that guy running our offense. He's had some good stints in college, and his professional career has not gone well at all. And he's had some major headbutting moments with Kyler Murray, and that's not what I want to see out of an OC. I mean, I get it. If Kyler's a bit of a a combative personality, that's fine. I mean, I can understand that, but at the same time, it's like you're gonna have to figure something out as an OC, especially as a head coach, and you're going to bring me this guy to try to run the offense with a brand new rookie quarterback. And that's what all Texans fans are expecting, is a brand new rookie quarterback, at the start of the 2023 season. I mean, we don't want Davis Mills. We don't want Jimmy G. We don't want Derek Carr. We don't want Baker Mayfield. We don't want any of that. Let's start. If we're going to do a rebuild, let's start fresh. Let's start from ground zero. And, if we can get some offense figured out, and you want to trot Davis Mills out there for the first game of the season and just say, hey, rookie, sit on the bench and watch this for a little bit, I'm fine with that. If they lose first game, all right, well, here we go. Bring in the rookie. You know what I mean? I just don't want to see this thing elongate into, halfway through the season and then like, all right, let's bring in the rookie. It's already time for that. We've moved past that whole give Davis a chance. He's had his chance. He had a season and a half. He's had his chance. It's over. He's not a franchise quarterback. And like I said, if you want to bring a young guy in and just have him watch Davis, or even during the preseason, have Davis start and have the backup come in for the secondary drives, whatever the case may be, okay, fine. But when push comes to shove and we get down to, okay, who is leading this team into the rest of the season, I want it to either be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I don't want it to be Davis Mills. I don't want it to be Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't want it to be Baker Mayfield. I don't want it to be Derek Carr, because none of those options make any sense for the future whatsoever at all. And then a lot of people can go into the, well, what if they draft Bryce Young and what if he goes out and gets hurt? Well, if he goes out and gets hurt, I mean, Joe Burrow tore his ACL the first year he was, with the Bengals. I mean, he missed a season and then he went to the Super Bowl. Like it's not like it's, an end all be all. And it's also one of those, like, it's going to take some patience and it's going to take some time. Like it's not going to happen overnight. So, it makes me more confident in Nick Caserio and DeMeco. The fact that they brought in Bobby for an interview before any of this Cliff Kingsbury things, popped up, to just get an initial pulse on everything. And maybe that's what they were doing with Cliff. They had the interview with Bobby, a week or so ago. And then, they all of a sudden Friday it pops up, oh, Cliff Kingsbury's coming to the Texans to interview. Well, that's great. Maybe they picked his brain a little bit. Maybe they were doing kind of a think tank type of deal where they were like, look, you've worked with a lot of different, smaller quarterbacks, Johnny Manziel, Kyler Murray. And, what did you see? What did you like I said, there's no harm in doing that. And I kind of feel like that's maybe where they were going with it was, let's pick some brains. Let's figure out, what he saw, versus what we think we see. And I'm not saying Cliff Kingsbury is not a brilliant mind as far as football goes, especially as far as, the passing game goes. He is, and he's proved that, but he hasn't proved it on a head coach level or even an offensive coordinator level in the NFL. So that was what was worrying me was I don't want that guy. I would rather have Bobby Slowik. Bobby Slowik figured it out with 3 different guys throughout the season and then brought in Mr. Irrelevant to nearly take him to the damn Super Bowl. I mean, if there's any testament to coaching, good God, that's it right there. Like Texans fans should be rejoicing, that Bobby Slowik even, number one, agreed to interview with him. Number 2 is coming here. Like that's after DeMeco and Bobby, the whole Matt Burke thing. Again, DeMeco's going to be calling the plays on defense, so I'm not too worried about Matt Burke, but super excited about Bobby Slowik coming in. Frank Ross was retained as the special teams coordinator for the Texans, which is, in my opinion, probably the greatest decision they made. I didn't really think, as far as retaining who was already here, I didn't really think Pep Hamilton was going to stick around anyways. And I think retaining Frank Ross was a no-brainer. I mean, you look across the stats, like Texans were tied for 4th in special teams last year, which is it's literally the only thing the Houston Texans can hang their hat on. They did damn good at special teams. Other than that, we were next to last and everything else. So the fact that they retained Frank Ross, and you just watch that guy on the sideline, like Frank Ross he is a damn good coach, and he will probably end up being, I could easily see him being a head coach at some point in his career. He just has that same mojo, just like DeMeco. When you watch DeMeco on the sideline with the Niners defense, like he was there every play, he was excited. He got his players excited. He got them into everything, and that's what Frank Ross brings to the table. He's also the only, from what I was watching throughout the season, the only competent one at game management. The only one that was actually understanding what the hell was going on in the game as far as, like I said, clock management and game management. Like Frank Ross was there. He knew what was going on. So super excited about that. I don't think that we're going to hear a whole lot of, like, earth-shattering things outside of that. If the Texans end up bringing Cliff Kingsbury on. Maybe it would be, like I said, as like an offensive specialist, maybe a passing game coordinator or something like that, if he's up to it. And maybe he is. Maybe he just kind of wants to stay in the realm for a little bit because, like I said, he's guaranteed 5 years of millions of dollars for the next, or millions of dollars for the next 5 years. So, why not just come on and consult for a little bit and stay in the coaching realm? I mean, then that would be a great addition to the Texans offense. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I just don't want him running the offense because the biggest thing, with them hiring DeMeco was, okay, well, what the hell are we going to do on offense? Because defense really wasn't. I mean, it was a problem, but defense kept the Texans in a lot of the games, especially towards the end of the season against the Cowboys, against the Chiefs, that they had no business being in, but they were in because of the defense. It had nothing to do with the offense. The offense couldn't move the ball. They couldn't score. They couldn't even get a field goal. They couldn't even get in field goal range. But the defense kept them in it by either turning the ball over or, forcing 3 and out or whatever the case may be. And that right there is why I was so skeptical on, okay, who are we bringing on offense? That's great that we got DeMeco, but he's a defensive minded guy. He's not an offensive minded guy. They got Bobby Slowik, so super excited. We'll see what happens in the next coming weeks. It'll be, the clock's hit 0. I'm actually posting this right after the Super Bowl, so the 2022 season of the NFL is officially over. And now all the craziness starts as far as free agency and draft and staffing hires, and all of this is all going to start unfolding real quick. So congrats to the Chiefs. Thought that last call down to the last minute and a half or so, defensive call was a bit of bullshit, and kind of why I hate refs just ruining pivotal moments in games. It just drives me nuts. But congrats to the Chiefs, man. They fought back. They were down 10 at the half, and fought back and found the victory. So again, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I'm some sports guy. I'm some Texans fan, Jonny Lambert. Like, subscribe. You guys have any comments? I'll try to get to everybody. I'm going to just try and figure out an interactive stream. I'm still kind of getting into this podcasting thing. So just an opinion from a Texans fan. Like I said, if you guys have any recommendations, or you want to like, subscribe, I'll be here, trying to be here every day. And we'll see you guys next